Welcome back. My name is Ashley, and this is the Black Sheep Christian Podcast. Today, I have Daniel Kringsel from Big Balls Brotherhood joining us today. Welcome. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, your story is very fascinating. I was just doing some when you reached out, and then the fact that we did this interview, I was doing some serious researching online. So we have quite a bit to talk about.
Let's go.
Your story, we're just getting right into it. So your
Cool.
story is very what you do. You're founder of Big Balls Brotherhood. So you're bold. This is from your page, part of it. Bold, unapologetic movement calling men to rise in strength, wealth, discipline, and divine purpose.
That's
That
right.
is the line that really spoke to me the most out of everything on that page. And I'm glad we connected because as women, um, culturally, we have learned to create a community, many communities, whether it's interest, whether it's problems that we've come across in our lives. But you guys out there, men, sometimes I'd be thinking about like how you guys are getting together. What are you guys doing?
Yeah.
So, what brought you to create this movement, to create this brotherhood?
Yeah. God. We'll start there.
Yeah.
Um, it's been something burning in my soul for the last few years that I'm supposed to connect as many men to God as I can.
Mm,
And I'm not a priest. I'm not a preacher. You know, I have been baptized. I am a Christian, but it's not inside the church. I'm very positive about that. It was in my daily walk. I think we should talk and start really with kind of how this came to about, how my relationship with God, if that's okay. I'd like to start there
yeah,
with you.
most
Yeah.
definitely.
So I've always been in business. Once I was done with college and playing baseball, I got in the mortgage business and had a lot of success. For 22 years, I was doing some big stuff. Um, 2006, 2007 were huge years in the mortgage industry. And then if you remember 2008, the market crashed completely everywhere in the whole US. And 2006, 2007, I was partying and abusing alcohol and drugs every single day. And I couldn't stop. And I tried to stop, but I couldn't stop. I didn't have a real good connection with God at all. I knew of God, but I didn't have a connection. Wasn't going to church, wasn't walking with God, wasn't talking with God, wasn't reading the Bible, was doing none of that. I was just drinking. 2008, the mortgage crash happens. I lose everything. I go from being a multimillionaire to living on my dad's couch. She left. She took the kids. Great idea for her at that point, you know, and lost everything, mortgage company, cars, all the money. And I'm on my dad's couch. For 3 or 4 weeks, I'm living on my dad's couch, drinking, hiding alcohol in the garage, going out and drinking it. My dad knows what's going on and he doesn't know how to like handle me. Like I'm an adult. What do I do with my son? Like he is like headed for trouble. Like I'm already in trouble. And it was July 7th, 2010. I was running, I was working out, I was jogging in between my drinking. It was really weird what I was doing. Like I was still working out, but I was drinking all day. So I'm on the side, one of the sidewalks. I remember the piece of the sidewalk in Las Vegas that I was in. I was running July 7th, 2010, middle of the day, heat of the day. It's like 110 out. I look up to the sky and I'm like, God, I need your help. I need to stop drinking. Please help me. This is the first time, this was a foxhole prayer, that a lot of people talk about, but this is what it was. I wasn't like the cops weren't behind me. It wasn't like I was going to jail. It was none of that. It was just, okay, I'm done. I need help. And I had a burning bush situation that happened to me. Except there was 110 degrees outside and then my body was a burning bush. It was like 180. My body just like completely like turned to fire. I felt this like calm, this excitement and this peace all at the same time. And God literally took the want and need for me to drink and use drugs away from me. And this July, it'd be 15 years. I haven't drank or used drugs and I haven't wanted to because of my connection and my walk with God. So that's kind of where I wanted to start with you. was that, just to kind of tell you, like, this is when it started, was 15 years ago.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's amazing. And that's a feat that not everybody can say that they've been sober for that long.
Yeah.
So congratulations. And I say that because I've had family members, had a family member, he recently passed away, and that was a struggle of his. He really couldn't, quite honestly, I don't even know the farthest he went. So to be able to go 15 years sober is amazing.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
You're welcome. So, and I'm sure your family's celebrating that achievement as well, to be able to
Yeah.
have that, to be able to have you,
Yeah.
to be able to have you. So, congratulations.
Especially my older kids.
Yeah,
They were, 6 and 7 at the time when this went down, where the end of it was there.
yeah,
15 years ago, they were about 6 and 7. And they saw a complete difference and change. Now I'm a leader. Now I'm a father, a great father. I'm not who I used to be, just a
yeah,
selfish alcoholic that's looking for its next drink,
yeah,
in between all the minutia of building a business and all the other crap that I was doing.
yeah. It's interesting, thinking about the family member, my uncle, and that is how some people are able to get out and some people can't. Sometimes I wonder what his story was. Like, did he have that conversation with God? Did he have the emotions and that feeling of that burning inside and that calmness that you have? Like what compels some of us to go and some of us to stay?
Yeah. Well, from my opinion and from my experience, I did step into Alcoholics Anonymous at the very beginning of my journey. And I was in AA for about 7 or 8 years. Um, and I sponsored a lot of men. So I actually have a lot of experience with this question.
Hmm.
And one of the things that I witnessed myself firsthand was, number one, when men were open to a communion and connection with God, they had a completely different and better chance of staying sober inside of the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous versus the men and the women that had a problem with God. I have a problem with God. Whenever I would hear that, I'm like, you're done. You're out. You won't be here tomorrow, or you won't be here next week. Like, I know this. I pray for you that you change your mindset. But that's the one thing that I noticed that was very obvious was, and I'm not saying this for your family, but this was the one thing that I saw was there wasn't a belief in God, or there was like this disconnect because they're blaming God for their life. They're blaming God for the rock bottom. It's not God's fault that you had a rock bottom. Matter of fact, that's an opportunity. Every rock bottom is an opportunity for every single person. Because when you hit rock bottom, then you can look around and go, okay, this isn't what I want. Now I got to go up. Now I got to change. Now I got to make some different, decisions in my life. So I think that would be one of the big determining factors that I saw from my experience. I don't know it all, but I do know 7 or 8 years worth of being with a lot of men that had that problem or didn't have that problem
Hmm.
of staying.
Yeah. And then, this makes me think about another question too, is I know as a woman, when we have problems, for me and my group, it's this constant, you know, um, I wouldn't say constant, but the channels of communication are clearly open and are clearly free. But for men, sometimes I wonder if that's the same thing. Is it because if I'm a woman, or is it because that of culture, or is it because the channels of communication are just designed differently?
Yeah. So communication is very important in all relationships. I will say that. From what I've seen inside of like a true men's movement or a brotherhood, when you have vulnerability and transparency, that's when the ultimate connection happens inside of a brotherhood or inside of an organization or inside of a group of men. Haven't been inside a group of women at that level. But knowing with men, if the leader is transparent, if the leader is honest, if the leader is just, I'll lay it all out on the table for you guys. This is what it is. This is what I see. This is where I was. Then these men start to follow suit. And when they start to have conversations that are open, with vulnerability and transparency, then the connection and the channels are completely on the same page, to where we're communicating at a completely different level.
Yeah. I'm going to switch gears. There's another part of your story
Okay.
I was listening to. And I was noticing when you were talking about a specific gift, having a
Yeah.
specific gift to start your business or to run your business, because in your part of your story, you were in the mortgage business and you were doing great, extraordinary.
Yeah.
I don't even know if that is even the right term, but you were doing great at what you were doing in the field. And then
Yeah.
God told you, not today.
Yeah. He told me to shut it down.
He
I
did.
said, "Are you serious? You know what my bills look like, God? I mean, come on." Yeah,
Yeah,
it was more like that.
you were definitely, I probably imagining you if you're back in Jesus' day, you were having a great fishing business.
Yeah.
Those fish were just flowing into your boat,
The
and
boat
Jesus
was
would be
almost
like, right.
sinking. Yeah, because it was heavy. Yep.
And Jesus would be like, you know what? I don't want you to be a fisher of fish. And you'd be like, wait a minute, come
Yeah.
on. Why do I need to stop this family business?
Yeah.
So, when it comes, my question with this specific gift is you clearly had a gift of what you were doing, and God's just like, not today.
Yeah.
And my question is, and this is with all gifts, even though those who haven't been able to hone it in, and is like how when God told you, not today, you had a gift and he wanted you to use that gift elsewhere. And
Yeah.
sometimes, and this is why I'm relaunching the podcast, because I thought I could go in one direction. I had a dream, not knowing what this dream means, went to a church member and they're like, you need to teach again. And I was like, wait a minute. I'm putting a piano through a car wash. What does that have to do with anything?
Yeah.
So, like, when it comes to gifts, this is a
Yeah.
long way to get to my question. Like, how do you hone that in? How do you even know? Yeah, how do you even hone it in?
Yeah. It's a great question. So I want to first establish a belief that I have that's very, very deep inside my soul,
Okay.
which is every single man is given a specific gift or talent from God at birth.
Yeah.
I haven't had this conversation directly with God in my prayer time around women, but men, I'm absolutely positive, and only because the brotherhood is a men's movement, So women, you can have your conversation with God to figure this out, on your own time. But the truth is every man has a gift or talent given by God by birth, at birth. And here's the reason why, because every man that God created and put on this earth is built to actually be in a mission for God. We're not here for me. We're not here for us. We're here for God. So if we can understand we're here for God, God made us to do something specific for him, then we can at least believe that there is a gift or talent that's inside of us.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first step on understanding this conversation. Then the second step is every single man has a specific mission that God has, that he's calling each man to step into. Every single man has a mission for God. Every single man. There's not one man out there that doesn't have a specific mission for God. Even the men that are disconnected, there was a mission for God. They just chose to be disconnected, homeless, drunk, disconnected, whatever, But every single man has an opportunity to step into God's mission for them, using their gifts and their talents. I didn't understand this when I first heard this. Shut it down. You're done. I didn't understand this. I listened because I have a stack of evidence in my walk over the last 15 years. In July will be 15 years of understanding that when God tells me to turn right and I turn right, it goes good. If I turn left and I go against what God tells me to do, it goes bad. It goes bad every single time. God wins every single time. There's not one time that he loses. So if he's telling us to do something and he's telling us, this is the mission I have for you, son, listen to me, you better listen as a man. You have to. And when you listen as a man, God will lay out the mission that you're supposed to do. And your gifts and your talents will obviously be utilized inside that mission. That's why he gave you the gifts and talents. He didn't give you the gifts and talents to make a bunch of money and be some stupid person, that's not using them, that he can't utilize. He gave you those gifts and talents so he can use them through you to make the change, the effect, or whatever he wants to create inside the world through you. That's why you have them. So I was built to be a leader of men. I was built to get men excited and inspire men. I was built to build businesses and structure. I was 13 years old and had my own lawn service. It was just me, but I built my own business when I was 13. I figured out the marketing. I figured out the sales. I figured out the fulfillment. Like I did it all. The maintenance. Like I did everything when I was a 13-year-old. People look at that and they're like, how did you do that? I don't know. I just know how to build business. I also know how to sell. I know how to influence. So these were all the gifts and talents that I was using in the mortgage business. And that's why the last 15 years of a 22-year career, I was trying to get out because it didn't feel right. I knew there was there was a hole, 100 grand comes in on the 4th or 5th day of the month. And I got 25 days left in the month to make more money, and more money's coming in and I feel terrible. What's wrong with me? I'm not lined up. I'm now connected, and now I have this connection with God, and I'm not doing what God wants me to do. That was a problem. So today it's not a problem for me. Today, the men that we run with, it's not a problem for them either. They feel complete, whole, worthy, fulfilled. They have success because now they're using their gifts and talents that God gave them for him, not for me, not for the man, for him. So that's really what the brotherhood's about. That's what God shaped me to be. So you asked that question, that's the answer. I know it was kind of a long answer, but that was it.
No, that's perfectly fine. I'm just writing down nuggets, little gold nuggets that are like God wins every time. And it goes back to the Bible verse, our life is not our own. And who we are to truly serve, which is kind of weird, but it makes sense in a way. Here's the most powerful being, and yet he wants us to serve him. We are not made as powerful beings. We can barely do a tenth, maybe not even a tenth of what he is capable of doing, but we are here to serve him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even think it's a tenth. I think it's like a 1/trillionth of a trillionth of a trillionth, there isn't even a number. God has a pattern. Okay. Here's God's pattern. When he gets ticked off, he floods the earth. It's the truth. That goes to my point. He wins every single time.
He does.
The Egyptians, they were in slavery. He just kept sending plagues. Okay, you dealt with that one. Here's another one. You dealt with that one. Here's another one. He wins every time.
Yeah. So yeah.
When we connect with someone that's going to win every single time, not someone, but the thing that wins every single time, the creator, we're going to win every single time.
Right.
That's why I have complete confidence listening to God now. Didn't have it forever. I do now. He tells me not to do something or to do something. I do it. And I have an angel too, by the way. So I have an angel that is my wife. She's my soulmate. She's my best friend. She's my rose. And she's massively connected to God too. So God put her in my life for a reason. I needed someone that was connected at the level that I was connected to be able to sometimes check myself. I'm hearing this. Can you verify that you're hearing this too? Oh yeah, honey. That's right. Okay. Every once in a while, I'll need a little extra confirmation on something, especially when it's huge.
Yeah.
I know the voice but it's almost like, I hope I'm losing my mind today because this is not what I want to do. Honey, is this what I'm hearing? Yes, I'm hearing it. Shit. Okay. Well, I guess I'll have to do it.
So I'm guessing she heard the same thing when you decided to shut the business down, the mortgage business down.
Yeah.
unless she was just like floored and shocked. Because sometimes, couples can be equally yoked until, because I can only imagine. I'm thinking of Moses, for example.
Yeah.
Moses, he had a couple of points. He was living a good life, and then after which he accidentally murdered the guy. He went off, and then he was living a nice, comfortable life. Another life, a more humble life, I like to say. Got curious over a bush, and then from the bush, he was like, "Honey, we need to go back home." I can only imagine what the wife was probably thinking at the time, like, we're comfortable, we have a family, and you want to go back
Yeah.
where they probably have a trial and crimes over that murder.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we've been equally yoked since we've been together.
Mm,
So we've been together for about 3 years now.
okay.
It's been incredible.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. And not a lot of people can say that. I mean, that
Yeah.
is hard to do, especially when it comes to a walk with God. Because sometimes, and I say that because when it comes to walking with God, um, the Bible is very fascinating in itself. It's a mystery in its own that we will never fully comprehend. And so, what you think a passage may say one way, your partner and spouse may feel that it's another way. So, to be able to be equally yoked together through those changes is just faith in an earthly manner.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So, when it comes to listening to God, honing on that specific skill, my question is, because your story is very fascinating, it was like you were very confident in the very beginning. And I must say, I have to admit, I have not been confident in the very beginning, such as yourself. Sometimes you'd be like, is that you? Is
Mhm.
that really you?
Yeah.
So my next question is when you were having this journey with walk with God, you knew what God wanted you to do. And this may be a dumb question, but did you feel that he was giving you step by step? I mean, did he give you a full vision of the end, like as if it was not like Moses, but you saw the promised land, so you knew what it looked like?
Yeah. So this is a very complicated question for me because it we could go a bunch of different ways here.
Okay.
So um, first thing that I want to say is that consistency is mandatory to be able to know that you're hearing God's guidance, God's revelation. That's the first thing. So when I say consistency, what I mean by this is for the last 15 years, I've been connecting to God every single day. I've not missed a day for 15 years. That's the first thing. Second thing is I've had no drugs or alcohol in me for 15 years. So there's nothing blocking that channel, you know? The other thing is over the last 4 years, 5 years, I've been actually journaling and having a journal style dialogue with God back and forth. So it's every single day, every morning. It's not, 3 times a week, it's 7 times a week. It's not midday, it's morning every single time. Now, if I'm flying and like leaving at 4 in the morning, I'll be doing it on the way to the airport or I'll be doing it while I'm waiting for the plane. That's the only time that I won't hit it first thing in the morning, regardless. So consistency and having a dialogue back and forth. God, you're saying a prayer and then you're waiting for a response. You're asking a question, you're waiting for a response. Sometimes now with me, he'll just start speaking right into my mind. And I'll just be sharing that in my journal that I have a digital journal and software. That's what we help with the brothers to be able to dialogue and keep the dialogue, which is very important. Because when you get into this connection time with God, sometimes so much information comes at you in an hour that there's no way unless you dialogue it and you write it down and you record it, you're going to be able to keep it. So that's the next part of the answer. And then the last part of the answer is, over the last 9 months, I've been reading the Bible every single morning in conjunction with doing the back and forth conversation with God. That has completely changed my level of connection and certainty with God. So I open up my morning with 3 gratitudes. I'm grateful for number 1. I'm grateful for number 2. I'm grateful for number 3. Usually my wife is one of the 3. Sometimes she isn't, but usually she is, like 80% of the time, just because she's always on my mind. Then I'll read a chapter of the Bible, or I'll read a couple specific verses. For those out there that are wondering, and this is not like a special trick, but if you don't know this, if you feel inspired to read or learn a part of something in the Bible and you don't know where it is, you go to Chat GPT and you ask. You just ask. Chat is so impressive now. Chat does not have an opinion. I believe my chat is Christian. I really do. I think I blessed my chat and my channel with a Christianity because it's beautiful what it does. I want to learn about Moses in the burning bush. It tell you exactly where. I want to learn about King David and Saul. Tell you exactly where. I want to learn about when Jesus was resurrected. I want to learn about. Tell me about this Easter Sunday holiday and how it relates to Jesus. Like, boom, you are right where you need to be. It will tell you. But anyway, I'm reading the Bible. Then I'm having the dialogue with God. When I do it like that, gratitude, Bible read, connection and revelation with God, my mornings are bulletproof. No one can mess with me. I smoke usually a cigar, sometimes 2 cigars in the morning with God when I'm doing this every morning. It's the most amazing thing that I get to do. I wake up just salivating for my time with God. Like it just pulls me to the porch in the backyard. It's just me and God, cup of coffee, a cigar, and water, and my phone. That's it. That's all I have. I read the Bible through the digital version on my phone. And I do my dialogue with the software in the phone. And I get the revelation every day. There's not one day I don't get revelation. There's not one day I don't have connection. Not one day. So I live an inspired life.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I got to do some other things. And now joking aside, I mean, these are baby steps that you've taken over time. And I say that because I know I did a interview with one of my friends from work, and we were talking about Bible study, and she mentioned how I go Bible study 3 times a week. And she was she was talking about how I mentioned how I do it 3 times a week, but what got her was it wasn't a boast. It was more so me trying what I call it catch up. Like I'm trying to catch up on lost time in order to know God's word and what his voice really says, because sometimes when scripture says you have to test the spirits, you have to question what is who's trying to communicate to you. And so with your journey, I can feel that has taken you time to even do. I haven't even done the journaling or the everyday. Right now it's just the 3 days of the Bible study, and then doing one of them is to teach Bible study. But it's a step-by-step process that really takes over time. And then once you get to that level, I notice for myself, if I don't do it, it's like food. Like if you don't eat, you just don't feel right. You just don't feel good in an unusual way. And I
I
know that,
agree.
yeah, I know that happened with a coworker. She missed church, and it wasn't because she wanted to. I think it was like a work commitment. And a coworker was like, "Did you go to church on Sunday?" They're like, "I can tell."
That's funny.
Yeah.
So if I didn't have my morning time, my wife would take one look at me and be like, "What's going on?"
Mm,
For sure. She hasn't had to do that, but
yeah.
if it happened.
Yeah.
We've been married for about 3 years now. No, actually 2 years and 4 months and about 10 days to be exact.
Yeah.
We've been together for about 3 years. Every single time together, I have been massively connected to God. Even
Mm.
before I was with her, I was massively connected. But she's never seen me not connected.
Mm.
There's times to where, I might have some disconnection in my day. We're not perfect. There might be times to where the enemy is using that tool belt that he has.
Mm-hmm.
He might be using scarcity or guilt or shame or fear, to disconnect me from the God and from my connection. But, I've always been connected since we've been together, which has been incredible. So she wouldn't be with me if I was the alcoholic I was before. Wouldn't be attracted to her,
Yeah.
My wife follows me. She follows me wherever I tell her we're going to go, and not like as a dictator, but as a true leader in my household. And the reason why she follows me is because she feels this certainty and this comfort inside her soul, because she knows I'm being led by God.
Mm.
She wants me to lead the household, lead the family, lead the kid. We have 6 kids together collectively. Like, she wants me to lead being connected to God, connected man to God, not disconnected.
Yeah.
And that's another part of the conversation around relationships, where men wonder why their wives won't listen to them. Well, it's because they don't want to listen to you, man, because you're not connected. And you, in your little mind, is not going to lead your family where you need to be leading them. But when you're connected to God, you're connected to infinite wisdom. Now you're leading your family where you're supposed to lead your family. That's when the woman feels good inside. That's when the woman will listen.
Yeah.
That's when intimacy completely skyrockets, by the way, in a relationship. When a man is connected to God. I am attractive to my wife, and she always tells me, "You're so hot." And I'm like, "Really?" She's like, "Yeah, because you listen to God." I'm like, "Okay, great. I'm not just a piece of meat. That's great. Feels good." It's the truth. The
It is
truth.
it's absolutely the truth. And you know what? You touched on a very interesting button, and that is women and men in the household. And I know that is an issue with quite a bit of households today. And part of it is, and some 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 people want to make it a dominant issue, and it really isn't a dominant issue. As a woman, I will follow a man as long as I feel safe.
Yep.
If I don't feel safe, then I mean, so like animals, for example, wolves are not going to follow a crazy a crazy wolf. Like the pack is just not going to happen. The pack is just not going to follow. They're not even going to entertain that thought. But if they have a leader in that pack, they will follow that leader because they feel safe and they know that no matter what, even if something goes wrong, that they're, I'm thinking these are how wolves act. I'm thinking that even if something goes wrong, they will know no matter what that that leader will go for bat for them, that they'll try to help them, save them, get them to where they need to go.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Because, I mean, as a woman, I mean, in today's age, um, I feel, and this is just because of history, of what has allowed us to do, but we're not made to do everything. And sometimes I feel as women, we are losing our minds because we are made to feel that we're supposed to do everything. And for a man to be able to lead a family to God, um, in that purpose, that is just a comfort. I'm perfectly fine going in the passenger seat, because and to
Yeah.
do what, as a woman, that God has made me to do, my purpose, to focus on my purpose instead of worrying about the driver, me being comfortable as the passenger and the kids in the back seat.
Yep.
Like that's too many things to worry about.
So you actually remind me of a topic that I think we should open up, if you're cool with it. The enemy.
Mm,
The enemy is a spiritual enemy. It's been around from the beginning, before Adam and Eve. I'm sure. We don't know about it, but probably before Adam and Eve, the enemy has been at some level present. So we're still fighting the spiritual battle. We just had it on the mainstream and on the main stage in every media and TV outlet when we had the political battle that we had. That wasn't a political battle. That was a spiritual battle. And what I mean by this is the enemy was weakening the man. When a man is weak, the woman will not follow weakness. Just like you said, you won't follow a crazy wolf. You also won't follow a weak wolf. If the wolf is not a strong leader, no wolf will follow that leader. Same thing with the household. So the enemy, the spiritual enemy, is very smart about this, going, you know what? Let's just confuse men that men aren't men. Let's confuse men that women are supposed to do all this stuff. Let's confuse the household and stir up the household to where society believes women are supposed to do everything. Women's supposed to save the world. No, men are supposed to save the world. It's how it was designed. So when men are in leadership, when men are strong, when men are leading their families and the wives feel safe, they'll follow the leader. It's almost like if we're going into war, do you want to have strong men on the battlefield or do you want to have women fighting man? You know, like if you looked at the Russian army versus the US army before it's been completely revamped and changed over the last month or two, look at, if you could see the commercials of the promotion from Russia, and then you look at the promotions that we were putting out before, you know, and this doesn't have to be a political conversation. I don't want it to be. But at the same time, we're talking about a spiritual battle here. It's very obvious. Spiritual battle is still happening. Like we're winning right now. Think about the movies. I just literally got, for the first time ever, I went and paid for an animated movie, King of Kings. If you haven't seen King of Kings yet, you need to go see it. You need to bring your family. It's Jesus' story. It's the most amazing thing ever. And it's animated, but it's this new technology animation, so it's even different. We sat in the movie theater, and I look at my wife, and I'm like, baby, we're in the wrong movie. She's like, no, we're in the right movie. I'm like, no, we're not in the right movie. This is animated. She's like, no, we're in the right movie. I'm like, okay. I know this is the King of Kings, and I know this is Jesus' story. I've heard about this. Didn't know it was animated. Didn't watch the trailer, but I'm here, right? My whole point to this story is we're winning spiritually. God is winning right now in this spiritual battle. He's winning in all the motion pictures. We have The Chosen. We have King of Kings. We have King David, which I don't remember which series that's called on Amazon. Like there's so much now media is being actually taken back over by us as, you know, men and as us as believers and followers of Jesus and followers of God. Like we are connected and now we're winning. It's amazing to watch. Like our whole world, especially on our continent here, is completely shifting. It's a very good time.
I would agree with that. And it's funny that you say that because at the time of the recording, this is Good Friday. And on around Good Friday, Easter, my tradition is watching The Passion of the Christ.
Oh.
And so it's back on Netflix. I ended up buying the DVD because I think it went off of Netflix for a hot minute. And then I ended up buying the DVD, if that is a thing for people.
Yeah. You still have a DVD player, Ashley?
Right.
You do? That's cool. It's because you've got the kids. You're pumping the DVDs for the kids, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, so when I was looking last night, I was like, oh my gosh, The Passion's on. So, you know, every year I usually watch The Passion of the Christ. And I remember when that came out, that was a big deal.
Yeah.
Passion of the Christ. 2004, if I remember correctly. And what made it a big deal at the time was because it was Christian media mainstream and it was good. You know, it wasn't this low budget.
The producers were attacked spiritually.
Yes.
Like, I don't remember exactly, but I remember hearing like there's some crazy things that went down.
There were.
Again, spiritual warfare. Like
Yes.
that's what's happening, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Even I think on The Chosen that they've talked about some some things that happened on the
I
set.
believe it. I
Yeah.
believe it.
Yeah, but I'll never forget Passion of the Christ was big, and I feel like Passion of the Christ walked so because that was what 20 years ago, and then all of a sudden, like The Chosen, like it took
Yeah.
me a minute to even starting to follow that, and when people started talking about it, I was like, okay, well if you're watching it, then I'm gonna watch it because I'm gonna be honest, some of that Christian media, I'd be like, oh, this is so lame, but The Chosen was really great. I what I loved about it the most was how we're talking about men was how they portrayed Jesus. And it was different because in the past, I felt Jesus was portrayed as far as here, and then everybody else is here, like how the way he would speak to the people. But this one, they made him more not human, but just more humble, like
Yeah.
some of the he was joking, he was, making, some side comments that were very human but respectful. So what I really loved about The Chosen was that he was just more, it made him more personable.
Yep. There's another one, House of David. I just looked it up to make sure I'm calling
Oh,
it right.
did you? Okay.
Have you seen House of David on Amazon? Okay.
No.
So
Yeah.
that one will inspire you and connect you and entertain you at the same time.
Okay.
So it's a David and Goliath story.
Okay.
Saul and David. Like it's literally like it's a short series. I think it's only like maybe 8 or 9, or I might be off on that, but it's quick. But you'll see the bravery, you'll see the courage, you'll see how like King David like we're talking about this story right now, right? We're talking about gifts and talents. King David's gifts and talents was he had a gift to hear God and
Mhm.
also a talent of courage to follow through and listen to God. That
Mhm.
was actually one of his gifts and talents, was to always consult with God, always,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
to listen to what God was telling him to do and believe in what God and have courage. For him to go up against Goliath with a rock and a
Yeah.
sling, that's courage. For him to go into the lion's den, that's courage. For him to, to I don't know how he did it, but he killed a lion, killed a bear. Like these are all, this is all, but this was gifts and talents that God gave King David. That was just a shepherd David when he first started realizing he had gifts and talents and he was
Yes.
listening to God, right?
Yes. And
And
he did it on his purpose
he
because
did.
I mean, in the beginning with the David and Goliath, people were trying to and when you think about it, it wasn't really they weren't wrong. It just wasn't for David. Putting on that armor,
Yeah,
putting on that, giving him that sword. They weren't wrong because that was for them,
that's
but that
right.
wasn't for him.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
And you'll see that in the series too. You'll see that in the TV series.
Okay.
It's so cool to watch. There's the love story in there too.
Yeah.
Sal's daughter, like it's in the Bible. They also, just so the hardcore Christians
Yeah.
don't like go after them. They put, this is not exactly from the Bible on every single one. So
Yeah.
they have made it theatrical, and changed some things around. But what was really cool was I watched it and then it made me want to go, I'm going to read the actual real story of the Bible through it again.
Right.
And so I'm in 2 Samuel, I think chapter 9 or so right now, like going through that story again of King David.
Mhm.
And it's been incredible.
Yeah.
So I have a message for the men that are listening. Is that all right if I share
No,
this message?
no, no. We're almost to the end. So go right ahead.
So the men that are listening, first and foremost, we want you to have strength and power in hearing God's mission for you and actually having the balls to take action on what he's telling you to do.
Mm.
So that's what we do as a brotherhood. We do. We actually collect as men. We're strong men. We have opportunities to where we show you how to read the Bible. We show you how to have a Bible study in the morning, every single morning. We show you how to have this dialogue. And then we show you how to actually gain revelation and find out the number one question that's the most important question that you should be asking every single day. God, what am I supposed to do for you today? Or God, what can I do for you today? when men start asking this question, connected men to God, and they start getting an answer, and then they start having the actual intensity and the confidence to take action on that guidance and that revelation that they're getting on a daily basis, men, your lives will never be the same. So we're not at the time of this recording, it's the 18th. We're not taking on any new men in the brotherhood, but I'm going to give you a website. It's free. You can join the wait list, and then you can be considered to be a part of the Big Balls Brotherhood when we open up the gate. We're taking on more members. Is that okay if I share that website?
Yeah,
Actually,
definitely.
so it's bigballsbrotherhood.com. Again, bigballsbrotherhood.com. Just click on the tab there to join the wait list, and then we will contact you when we have the gate open and when we're taking on some more men, and we'll have a conversation. And if it feels right, then you can be a part of the brotherhood. You can lead your family. You can live on mission for God, and you can be a part of what's going to change the world forever is what I believe. That's what the mission is that I'm on. So,
Wow.
really glad that I was able to share that. Thank you, Ashley.
Yeah, you're welcome. First of all, I want to thank you for joining me today. As a woman, of course, there are women things, but there's a reason why God made Adam and Eve. There's a reason why he made them together, because in the first of Genesis, in the first couple of chapters, that's one of the first times he made Adam, and he just wasn't pleased. And he even says, this isn't right. There's something missing. So for us to coexist together, there's a reason for that.
Oh yeah.
And as we are in 2025 and we move beyond, the role of women has, in the history of the United States, has greatly changed. I mean, greatly changed. And my mind is thinking, like, since the beginning probably of World War II, when women entered the workforce, that's when the minds changed of what the role of the women is. And since then, we've had, revolution and renaissance and celebration. But when I think back, you guys haven't had that same pleasure at all. And I think as we are here in 2025 and having that conversation about men, I think it's time for you guys to be able not to have a renaissance, but to be able to learn your purpose and identity. Because once we become equally yoked together, God always wins.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's my little nugget for y'all. Daniel, I just want to thank you for joining me today. Again, I'm really blessed on this conversation and just to have a perspective of a guy. As a woman, like what I said, there are things that we culturally have become used to or have been, I'm trying to think of the word. I can't even find my words. You've been fed with. But at the same time, we need to take a pause and check on our brothers, check on our men in our lives, because if your purpose is to lead the family, then we need to be able to take a breather, step aside, pray, and have you guys take your position.
Yeah. They have to be connected
Yes.
for that to work. Speaking from the men, if they're disconnected, the women are not going to follow you, men. Straight up. They're not going to follow you. A woman is not going to follow a weak man. And if you think you're strong and you're not connected, you're wrong. You're not strong when you're not connected. You're just not. It's impossible.
Yeah. I completely agree with that. I
Yeah.
completely agree.
Yeah. Great.
Thank you.